So, ladies and gentlemen, this particular video is to the state of New York, the Lake George Park Commission, Roger Smith, David Wick, and the Fund for Lake George, along with the RPI University, Union College, the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, and the United States Army Corps of Engineers, with the United States Geological Service. The history of water drawdown, the drawdown of Lake George, the many times that Lake George, New York has been drawn down, flushing and diluting sewage, flushing and diluting pollution. How many times Basil Sagos at DEC? How many times Christopher Novinsky at the Office of the Lake George Waterkeeper, Attorney Tom West for the Fund for Lake George and the Lake George Association? How many times Governor Andrew Cuomo, Sheriff Bud York there in Warren County, Queensbury, New York, how many times have they flushed Lake George? Now, to Ellen Apperson Brown, John Apperson's daughter, how many times has the mill pond been flushed through the flusher gates, the spillways at Ticonderoga, dam number 230? How many times has Lake George had the sewage pollution that leaches into the lake from thousands of septic systems and sewage main breaks and sewage leaks from Bolton Landing to Lake George Village? How many times has Lake George been flushed to Lake Champlain? Now, we know they were flushing all the mill wastes from Ticonderoga for decades, and we know that the state of New York's records reveal that the flushing of Lake George has been going on for many decades. The historical records do not lie. And to the United States government, the judiciary, particularly the United States Supreme Court, and the appellate courts and the district courts of the United States, the flushing operations of this Dam A, dam number 230 at Weedville on Alexandria Avenue, there at Ticonderoga's Lachute River. Exactly how many times has the magical, fantastical, restorative powers of Lake George been used to flush the polluted waters of Lake George into the Lachute River? And this is, this is going over to the Department of Environmental Conservation for the state of Vermont, and this is going over to the Attorney General of the state of Vermont. How many times have we flushed it? Let's start asking, I don't know, United States Geological Service, EPA, United States Coast Guard. It's my understanding the U.S. Coast Guard operates on Lake Champlain. I believe that the governor of the state of New York and the legislature of the state of New York should be able to tell us how many times old Lake George been flushed. You know, the drawdown of the water, David Wick. The drawdown of the water, Roger Smith. And everybody that watches this video, I'm going to make this short so I don't drive people crazy with it, but how many flushes? How many flushes does it take? Rensselaer Polytechnical Institute, RPI, and the Darren Freshwater Institute, Fund for Lake George Association, Lake George Park Commission, DEC, Environmental Conservation. How many flushes does it take to keep Lake George from turning pea soup green? How many flushes does it take to dilute the pollution and the sewage in Lake George? And I think the most important question, and the last question I've got for the Warren County, New York supervisors and the Warren County Sheriff's Office and the Attorney General's Office for the state of New York with the state legislature, How many docks and boathouses and islands and shoreline, docks, boathouses, shoreline, and islands, how many times have they all been damaged and destroyed by all this lake flushing and wintertime lake drawdown and all this ice that's uncontrollable because the spillways are too small? That's to the Army Corps of Engineers. You know, the spillways are 54% too small. The Lake George Park Commission refers to it as the pinhole in the bathtub. How many docks and boathouses and islands have been destroyed because of the pinhole in the bathtub? And that's for Ellen Apperson Brown and Dr. Richard Phillips and a number of other people that John Warren, Bill Hall over at the Lake George Mirror. How many times has property been damaged all over Lake George because of that ridiculously inadequate, way too small pinhole in the bathtub? I sure would like to see David Wick's answers, and I sure would like to see Basil Sagos' answers from DEC, you know, Lake George Park Commission. Folks, I think we'll leave it right there, and as always, hasta la vista, God bless, and you betcha we're definitely, positively, without any doubt, coming back.